I thought I would talk today about kind of the last year. Just really like this roller coaster and progression through the year. So it's been um, almost a year of therapy. I think that I started in March. I'll have to ask my therapist really what my anniversary is, but she mentioned that we were coming up on a year. So I think it's March. Um, so I've been doing a lot of work. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm not fixed either. So I will be continuing to go. But there have been, I feel like, a lot of changes, and um, I didn't know what to expect with therapy. So specifically talking about therapy um, today, I didn't know what to expect. Some people talk about it like I grew up in the 90s where mental health was not discussed. People who were seeing therapists were, I mean, lunatics. So it wasn't like a preventative mental health is important kind of thing. It was like, you've already gone crazy now. Let's try to fix it. Um, so I, I think I don't think I'm alone necessarily in that as a 40 something year old. I think that's just kind of how we were raised and um, what our world was like. But thank goodness that has changed. And mental health is something that people talk about a lot now. It's more mainstream. And I'm super grateful for it. So my sister's been going to therapy. One of my sisters started like, I don't know, 12 years ago or something, maybe even more. She might correct me after this. And she's always like, you know, big fan. um, and she's not crazy. She just had stuff she wanted to work through. Um, so she was really supportive. And then I have a friend who, one of my good friends, is a therapist or counselor. And so she obviously is super supportive. And a couple friends who are in therapy on the regular. So they are like, yes, it's great. So I feel like it was, I was at the right moment in my life when this was something that I knew I really needed to do. And I did not back away from it at all. There was no excuse, oh, insurance doesn't cover it. So what? This is so important. So it's just part of my budget. So I think it should be part of your budget. If you're living, you're going through some stuff. So you may need to talk to somebody. It doesn't have to be every week. I've been going every week because things have been crazy. And I really needed somebody to help me sort through my crap. So anyway, I feel like right now I'm coming up to the anniversary of my ex-husband and I separating. And then very shortly after that, I went and found my therapist and knew that I needed to start getting through some stuff. And I, this time last year, or when I started therapy, let me say that, I was in a state of absolute pure survival. If you have ever been um, in very stressful situations, your body will like flick into survival mode, and other things become less important because you're wired to survive. And so that's where I was. I can't exactly describe or pinpoint how my like day to day was, because I feel like when I look back at last February and last March and last April, like everything was, I feel like I was on like a spinning like tilt-a-whirl that was just going so fast. It's very dizzying, it's nauseating for me to think about, and it's very blurry. And I get like, um, it's dizzy, it's blurry, it kind of just feels like, I don't know, like this real panicky feeling. It's very strange. So I can't exactly, I don't know if my brain will ever let me really go through that, or if it just like really shut everything off because I was just trying to make it through. Um, but anyway, so when I started therapy, that's kind of the state that I was in. And then we worked a lot at the beginning through my divorce. And I mean, that's because that was a major thing happening in my life at that point. Um, I knew I always was going to talk about the teenage relationships, the rapes, and the abuse from that relationship. But so we did talk about that, like sprinkled in throughout. And she was, my therapist encouraged me to get it out of my system, out of my body. And I didn't want to at first. Like, she was really trying to, in the first few months of therapy, trying to encourage me to write about it. She knew that was my outlet, and had been my outlet. And so she was encouraging me to try to write about everything that was going on. And um, I was so stressed out and so dizzy and anxious and stressed that I could not sit down and write about the ending of my marriage. And I that's really what I at that moment needed to work through. So I verbally worked through things with her, and then I still have to go back and do that more. But once I got into my house and I was in my space where I, don't have the kids all the time. So there's time for me to be alone and to think and to kind of reset. So that's where I started to feel safe. My my nervous system started resetting. And I've probably been going through the reset since I moved, since like maybe last, like the end of May, beginning of June. There were a few physical things that my body, because of stress, had been going through. Like, I had terrible stomach issues, I was not sleeping. And then I noticed in June I didn't have my stomach issues anymore, and I hadn't had them in like a month. And that was something I'd been dealing with for years. So I was like, huh. And I mentioned it to my therapist, and she was like, it's your stress. Your stress is starting to come off because you're in a safe place. Your body knows, your brain knows that you're in a safe place. It's going to start shedding some of that stress, and you're going to start processing everything. And it's not going to be fun. So, so that's what happened. I started just kind of processing things and thinking a lot. And then I remember she asked me, in one of our first few therapy sessions, she asked me how I would describe myself. And like, what is something that a positive attribute of myself. And I said I was resilient. And she laughed and said that that's kind of a double-edged sword there, because you can only be resilient if you've gone through hell. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's true. She said people don't get to be resilient if they haven't gone through any major hardships. You have nothing to be resilient from. And so she said that's not to discredit the resiliency, because it is something to be proud of. And then the other day, this popped up on my Pinterest feed. There's somebody on Twitter said, I dream of never being called resilient again in my life. I'm exhausted by strength. I want support. I want softness. I want ease. I want to be amongst kin, not patted on the back for how well I take a hit or how many hits I take. And that spoke to me there. So, because, yeah, it's true. Yes, it's nice. I'm resilient, I'm super strong, but I wish I wasn't. So I don't like living in regrets. I've said that before, and it's true. I don't think of myself as having suffered through a lot of crap. I don't even think of my life as bad. So even though so many really bad things have happened, but it just is. So it's not something I could change. So that wasn't something that I just, that wasn't the part I focused on. But do I wish that things had been easier? Yeah, probably. That would have been nice. So, um, but can't do that. So we're just moving on and processing what we've been through. Um, in August, I started, or late July, early August, I felt comfortable enough to start um, telling my story. At first, I just recorded these things and I started writing, but I wasn't publishing anything. I didn't publish it. I don't think I started publishing until like September, mid-September, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do with them. I wasn't sure if I was just going to be talking to myself or if I was ever going to put anything out publicly, but I needed to get that out of me. I read somewhere last week that our bodies are not coffins. So when stuff happens, we need to bury it elsewhere. We need to bury it in something creative. We need to bury it in art. We need to bury it in writing. We need to bury it in a speech. We need to take it out of you and put it somewhere else. Your body is not a coffin. And I did not understand how important that was until I started doing it. I have always written about things that have been major stresses for me, and I'd write out my frustration, and then I'd feel a little better. But this stuff, the abuse and the rapes, those were things that I had carried with me and buried inside of me so long and so deep that I really I didn't see the value in getting it out. I thought, it's just there, it's not bothering me. That's a joke. But that's how it was. It was like, I feel like it's been here and it's been shoved down in here for so long. If I start to acknowledge this and start poking around down here, that's going to do more damage to me. That's going to be harder for me than just, it just being here. So I was wrong. It is so wonderful for it not to be buried inside of me anymore. Now it's buried on YouTube. And I'm very proud of myself for doing that. I'm very proud of myself for putting them out, for actually publishing them, because I think just getting it out of me and putting it like in my computer where nobody else would see it wouldn't be as cathartic as shooting it out into the world. And because for me, the actual events were damaging, but the shame and the guilt that I felt and have had and carried around with me for a long time, that's the stuff that was more damaging to me than, or I think it's the stuff that's more damaging to me than the events. So putting it out into the world where it is public for anyone to see was, I think it was the step that really I needed to do, because I needed to take the shame and take the power away that those things held over me, because I didn't want anybody to know about them. And so by posting them, by videoing them, editing them, posting them online, I took that power away from that situation and gave it back to myself. And I did not understand how great that was going to make me feel until really recently. Probably like in the last month or two, I've started to feel like so much lighter. Everything is just there. It's not inside of me anymore. And I get to talk about it to somebody else if they ask about it. And I have talked to people about it, and it's been bizarrely wonderful. Um, because I needed to. I never spoke about any of those things to anybody. It was just like this horrible secret. So being able to talk to my sisters about the stuff, and my one sister who was there at the Publix incident, and she and I never spoke about it, never, until I published it and called her and told her that I had it online, and I would like her to watch it, and then she and I had a long conversation about it. Like, I can't believe we had never talked about this since. And the conversations that I had with my parents about all of the stuff that went down, and it's been really nice. And the conversations with friends, and I'm not really sure that my children are watching these. I know that some of their friends are. But we talk about things like on our own. So talking about things and being very open and having very blunt, open conversations with many different people from different places has been nice. It's been nice for me. So I welcome that. If you have questions, please ask. It's not going to upset me. Um, and if it's something I don't want to answer, I won't. But more than likely, I don't think anybody's asked me anything recently that I have not wanted to answer. So we can have a conversation if you have questions. Because trust me, it helps me. So I welcome that. Um, I think that probably was like my biggest thing. I also noticed through doing that, and I don't know if it was just that or if it's just like kind of a combination of everything or time. I've been in my quote unquote safe place since last April. So I've had months to reset, but like I am so tired. So I've hit this like exhaustion state, and I've been told it's my nervous system resetting because I have to like reset my whole body. I have lived my entire adult life in fight or flight survival mode every day. So I have always been in this like stressed out, anxious state. So the fact that I have now for was that like 8 or 9 months that I've been able to be resetting and relearning things has been nice. So my body is very tired. And I've been told to just embrace it and kind of go with the flow. So that's what I do. The other day, I've definitely been trying not to like force myself into anything. I really want to be social and hang out with my friends, but then there are times where I just don't. I just get into a funk. Like the other day, I was supposed to have dinner with one of my best friends, and I had therapy session, and I just wasn't feeling great. I was kind of in my head about stuff, and I was getting ready for my son's birthday party the next day. So I bailed on dinner, and then I sat down and I woke up 4 hours later. And there were a few things from that. Like, first of all, am, I'm grateful that I have this friend, and I have a few friends they're so supportive right now. They know that I'm going through some stuff, and they are willing to allow me to make dinner plans with them and then bail. So I think this is like the second time in this month that I've done this to this one friend. And I absolutely love you. I know you're listening or watching this, so I appreciate you and your support. And because I just was in a funk, and I know also that this friend would have let me go and would not have been offended by my grumpy mood. She would have just like accepted it and loved me through it. But I do love that she loves me through needing to cancel on plans. And, then the next morning she came and helped me set up for my son's birthday party. So, love you. I know that you're listening, and I love you very much. And I promise one day I will not be canceling dinner plans. Anyway, so I've been super tired, and I've just been trying to allow myself to, like, kind of whatever I'm feeling, I just go for it. So, like, that 4-hour nap the other day, I have not napped. I don't even know when. I napped like 2 or 3 times this week. So my body is just tired. I'm kind of allowing myself to go through whatever it is that I'm feeling at the moment. My therapist said, because I've been living my entire adult life in fight or flight survival, I now have to learn how to just live. So I have to learn how to be kind of in the boring, where there's not like a major crisis. So, so that's what I'm trying to do. I don't really know what that looks like yet. And, yeah, I don't know what that looks like, but I'm happy with where my progress has gotten me. I'm very happy with the way that I'm feeling right now. I mean, like, I feel lighter and I just feel happier. So, it's been quite the journey. So I'm super grateful to have found a therapist that I really love. And, you know, it only works like if you're really honest with yourself. Which reminds me of this quote that came across my Pinterest page, because Pinterest really gets me. It says, the degree to which a person can grow is directly proportional to the amount of truth they can accept about themselves without running away. So if you're going to do therapy, be totally honest about it and be totally honest about yourself. And then it'll work. I think if you go into it trying to manipulate an outcome or manipulate the system, like, it's not going to work. So just go and kind of bear it out. And yeah, I'm grateful. So I'm not done. Things are just looking up and getting started and going to be better than ever.